Geche Karanja is a trained engineer with work experience in manufacturing and building and construction industry, as well as experience in lecturing at Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. He has worked in various locations worldwide, including Germany, Brazil, South Africa, USA, Egypt, and Japan. In episode 5 of the Future Cities Africa series, focusing on urban governance and how to get it right in managing urban growth in towns and cities in Kenya, this episode will explore the role of neighborhood or resident associations in building resilient cities. Geshe, welcome. What is the role of residents associations? And is there collaboration and partnership between the county and the resident association in shaping the growth and development of Kiambu County?
I think I need to give a little bit of a background of resident associations in Kenya, mainly because of the way they are formed. They are really formed out of necessity because majority of the developers do sell properties or land without necessary infrastructure. They probably will have indication of where the roads will be, and that is it. And the rest is the residents or the people who built or the owners of the plot to put them together. So many residents associations that started in Kenya were out of necessity because there wasn't good roads, there wasn't water, there wasn't electricity, and mainly without security, so to speak. So many of the people who came together were trying to answer this question. And if you look, they are really not things that should be done by residents per se. These are things that should be done either by the developer in terms of the infrastructure of providing water, providing roads, providing electricity is a government the business, and then security is government. But all these, in many cases, were not present. So, and people needed to put up their own places of residence. And for them to achieve this, they put up the residents associations. So if you like, the purpose or the role of the resident associations was to bring together these residents so that they can be able to achieve these 4 or so goals, driven mainly by security, because that is, okay, you can have water, you can have electricity, but if the security is not very secure, then you have a problem, and therefore you needed to come together and see how best you can offer your security. And this probably also is related to what was also happening or has been happening or have been advocated, the issue of Nyumba Kumi. Nyumba Kumi is a concept whereby the neighborhood take care of each other. They take care of what is happening within their neighborhood, and working with the administration of the government, they can be able to achieve this. So the neighborhood is, or resident associations are voluntary, so to speak, because you cannot force. They are registered under the Societies Act, but it's a membership kind of registration or ownership. And these, and they are, generally speaking, they don't have they're just societies, so to speak, so for the welfare of the members, and they are voluntary. So you could be in the neighborhood, but you're not a member of residents. But majority of people, because of what I have said, have joined this because the resident associations are capable or have been able to provide in a small way or in a big way, in the absence of anything else, those 3 areas, whereby the water infrastructure are put together because of them. The electricity comes because they have come together and they have been able to approach the provider and therefore ability to negotiate for installation. And what has been the mainstay of resident association is provision of this security. Now, the second question is to do with collaboration with the government, both at national and county level, because like you know, the country, the Constitution of Kenya in 2010 devolved some functions, and they created county governments, and we have now the national government. Yes, there is an element of collaboration in not so many resident associations, but in a number of them, yes, there is an element of this, because occasionally there is an engagement, but to date it is not as good as it should be. And that is why some counties like Nairobi County, Kiambu County, has even come up with an act of county assembly or an act of county government to find a way of engagement. And these are either neighborhood association engagement acts or community and residents and neighborhood engagement, promotion and engagement of these relationship. And those are acts that have been useful. They have not been properly implemented as yet. But there is a start. But in a big way, there is still a struggle. There is still a challenge of collaboration, particularly on maintenance and provision of services that are necessary, and also maintenance of what the future of a residence area is supposed to be. What are the plans in the area, and how do we sustain the intended plans, or the intended if it is a low density area, how do we maintain this? There is a big challenge there because of lack of proper collaboration between between the resident associations and the government, so to speak. So this brings a little bit of that challenge, but it is I can say it's work in progress. It is taking a little bit long, and this is because of the changes in government. When you have new people coming in every 5 years, and in some cases, particularly in the county government since 2010, the change in the leadership or in the responsible people who are given these responsibilities, they keep changing so fast. I can give you an example of our case in Kiambu. The minister, or if you like, the CC or county executive committee member responsible for planning, they have changed in the last, for example, 3 years, maybe 4 or 5 times. So this way, the consistency becomes a challenge. So we're still struggling with it, but I think with these acts that are coming up, if we can push for implementation, then we'll see success. Thank you.
So how do you fast track collaboration? If you had a magic wand, what is the one thing that you would change?
It is just one major thing: the recognition of resident associations as partners of the government. They become part of the partnership in this. If they are just recognized, in fact, that is what most of these two acts that I have, the acts that I have mentioned talk about: recognition. And when you recognize them, then they become partners, because there is an area that you will agree legally on what residents associations are supposed to do and what the government or county government is supposed to do. Recognition, and have a recognition agreement put together or put in place, so to speak.
How effectively has AKiRNA played the role to demand plans at a neighborhood level and being the frontline compliance or enforcement team to ensure plans are prepared and adhered to?
AKiRNA is Alliance of Kiambu Residents and Neighborhood Associations. That is an acronym for that. These are residents associations within Kiambu County, which is one of the counties in Kenya, that have come together to try and push the agenda, because in many residents associations, there are issues that cut across. And therefore, we felt that it is necessary for us to come together as resident association and have one voice to push this. And the main areas that AKiRNA is pursuing is, first of all, trying to create an understanding or a regulation or regulations of the construction or development in the specific areas, so that there is a standard that is approached for these. The second one is to look at the implementation of this development, and therefore enforcement of these regulations that are there, because there is partial planning, And these plans, if they are not followed up in terms of implementation, then we see abuse of these, or people who really don't care. So the AKiRNA has come together to try and look at those cross-cutting issues that affect resident associations. Like I've said, the first one is regulations in terms of planning regulations. If an area has been zoned off for specific residential or a certain type of residential, and there is resident associations there, how do we come up with how to regulate these? Even though there are plans, or the plans indicate, but there are details regulation. Because, for example, you say is low density. So what does low density mean in that area? So those are the things that the residents associations are putting together and working with the government, asking them to recognize them so that they become part of the approval process. The other one is to encourage partnership within resident associations. What are the areas that resident associations can partner so that they can help the government in delivery of services? For example, the waste management. How can we improve in terms of garbage collection? In fact, I forgot to mention that that is another area that residents associations work together. So, and that is a function that cannot be done by resident associations, but they can be able to collect them and pay garbage collectors. But how do they manage these garbage or this waste that is collected from the residents? And this way, because there is one area that is supposed to be used for dumping. So how can we collaborate with the government? So to this, we have had several meetings with duty bearers, the leadership of the counties as AKiRNA. And we have created some rapport. To date, we have some resident associations that are part of the approval process. They haven't reached the point of enforcement level, but they are a part of the approval process for development in their area. Those who try to mess up the plans there, they have a collaboration. We have a collaboration with the government, county government, in terms of trying to basically at the moment is just to try and report and have continuous discussion with them. We can see success because we have approached it from the point of view of that everybody who even working anywhere is a resident of some place. And if we have to look at the future, then we need to be taking care of what we have here for purposes of the future. So in terms of effectiveness, we can see the AKiRNA is not so old, is an affiliate of Kenya Alliance of Residents Association. And we are in our second year of existence, but we can see in the county we are making some very good progress in terms of negotiations and also trying to push for the implementation of the act that I talked about that we have in Kiambu.
How well have you been able to put local and national authorities to account for the implementation of planned infrastructure? And how would you solve the challenges to this?
Thank you for that question. And it's probably one of the biggest challenges and one of the reasons that we came together as resident associations to form the AKiRNA. Because as individual resident associations, it has been a big challenge to put them into account and to have them deliver on not what is promises, but what is guaranteed in the Constitution. And we have seen the biggest approach that many residents associations have had to do what it has been to go to court in many cases. In fact, I think we have nearly every resident association, or call them 70, 80%, go to court with developers or people who are breaking or infringing on the planning or development requirement in their areas, and the county government and the national government is unable to take responsibility of making sure that we safeguard the investment of people. So to me, I think that is one of the biggest challenge we have. We have not been very successful because going to court is a last resort, and it is a very expensive process. And sometimes we have failed as resident associations. We have failed to achieve what we want because of many other things that are there. That makes it very difficult for one to achieve the justice that you really want. So this to me, I think we have not been very successful. But we are hoping that if we become part of, or we become the resident association become part of the approval of service delivery, of decision making, then we don't have to get there, because they will also be responsible for safeguarding this and therefore being responsible enough. But to date, this is our biggest challenge. It's really a big problem for us.
So how do planners or professionals in general participate as residents and members of residents associations in guiding the residents in preparation of plans and adherence thereto?
I think this question is very important, and in fact, probably it should be the starting point of urban development. Because all of us, I'm an engineer by training, and the planners have been trained, but we are all trained to solve a problem. We are trained to solve a problem, but we are not supposed to solve a problem from the top. We are supposed to solve a problem from the bottom. And therefore, I think the first thing, in fact, all planners should do is that within their neighborhood, they come up with a spatial plan that is localized. And that becomes the beginning or the starting point of course, when they do this, they will look at it because they have the training. They will look at it globally. They will not look at it as isolated because they are trained. Maybe the local people may look at it in isolation, but a good planner will look at it globally. For example, you look at what would Kenya look like in 100 years? Or what should it look like in 100 years? I want to plan for Kenya in 100 years. But this plan is localized here. So for that to happen, how will my neighborhood look like in that 100 years? And they actually do this probably as part of their training. You know, they volunteer to do this, so that when they now are approaching, or when the other planners who are responsible for spatial plans in a sub-county or in a county are looking at it, they have inputs already from the local areas. And I can say, I think at the age this country is in, we can probably get planners to do this for every neighborhood or for every area or village, so to speak. So their role should be there. And therefore, if we are talking about resident organizations and what they want to achieve, development, good urban development areas, they should be playing this role at the local level, just like an engineer myself should be. How can I live in a neighborhood that the roads are not good, for example, and I'm not doing anything, and I have been trained? What is the purpose of this training? The purpose of this training that I got was to solve problems in the respective area that I trained in. And if I cannot do that within my neighborhood, then I'm not doing my job. And then it will just mean that I was just looking for education, or I went to school just to be employed to deliver what I am asked to deliver. But the planners particularly are creators of development. They are the ones who can visualize this urban development. They can look at it from the commercial point of view, the social point of view, the mobility, and generally the services, and even the good neighborliness. For example, they can encourage people not to put walls between their plots, so that you create more space for yourself and you create a better neighborhood. Yes, I understand sometimes it's an issue of security, but even that security is probably brought about by the fact that those who are not able are neglected, and therefore they need to find a way of surviving, and they cause an insecurity. So to me, I think that is the beginning. And right now we are trying to talk with the planners within Kenya, particularly for Kiambu, to see how can we work at the bottom level to generate, because right now there are special plans for the country and also for the county. But how do we integrate how do we come up with local plans? But that can only be done by the planners. And I think this is important. All professionals who have been trained, they should start there. They should participate in the local areas, because that is why you went to school, to solve the problem of your parents, because you are better than them.
Geche, what lessons can you share with neighborhood and residents associations across the country?
I think what is very important that I have learned is that things are not easy to do, but it is necessary that they are done, even if you are left 2 or 3 of you to do it. So the first one is, first of all, to look at or to engage so that you understand or you have a vision of where you are looking for. And then be persistent, remain there even when there are challenges, even when it is difficult. Be patient, because working with government, like, sometimes it's a nightmare, because sometimes you don't even know who is the government. Sometimes you don't know this. And the other one is that resident associations, by their nature, is that they don't have employees, because the membership is by probably a subscription, and it is not adequate to have employees. Probably they have one employee. Even for us, for example, AKiRNA, for the last those 2 years, it is a voluntary business that I am doing, and therefore it will require some sacrifice on your part in terms of time and money sometimes, because you have to spend go for meetings, drive distances and stuff like this. But I think what is important that I have learned is that if you look at any development or any city or any town or any municipality, the investment by the government, I always say, is not more than 15%. So 85% of any investment in any municipality is by the owners, by the residents themselves. And even the 15%, sometimes you need to remember, is not the government. It is still the residents who have contributed in way of taxes. So when they come to do roads, they are not doing roads with their money, they are doing roads with our. When they come when they are on security, it is us who are paying this. So generally speaking, it's 100%. So you want to make it good for you, because 85% is coming directly from you. You put up the house. So I think, to me, the lessons that we should learn is that if we persist, if we look to be partners with the government and keep encouraging them that we are there for partnering, not for competition, not for fighting. It is not government against the residents. Then we will achieve. We'll get this, and hopefully we will convert everybody to think this way, so that we become partners. And therefore, public participation becomes not a requirement, but it is a way of life. It becomes that every one of us in my neighborhood, I am participating in what I think. And particularly, like I said earlier on, if you have been trained, make that contribution in there. So I am asking the resident associations to be persistent, and they will achieve something, and not to be activists, but to be to solve problems, so to speak.
And finally, in which areas and how can residents associations partner with their respective governments, both national and local, to actively shape the growth and development of their areas?
We have tried to put together a concept that we delivered to the county government on areas that we can work together. Remember, most resident associations are the membership of those resident associations are professionals. There are people who know many things, and they are willing to assist voluntarily. In fact, yes, there are areas that you can't do because it requires a lot of time, but in terms of ideas, they are ready to give ideas together. The first area is actually focusing on development of an area, planning for that area. I think residents associations, they have a key role to play in that, because like I've said, they invest. You put up your building in an area, and therefore you want to look at the future of it and how you can improve on the value for that area. So that area of planning and future development in an area, and actually implementing that plan is one area that I think residents per se, resident associations can be engaged. Of course, it is difficult to invite everybody, but a resident association has leadership who will be able to collect whatever information they need to do this. The other area is the area of service delivery. Like I said, when you talk about security, then you find the national government is supposed to provide security. So how can we collaborate with security agencies within an area so that it doesn't become very expensive to do this area, so that the coverage, the network is on security is good. This is an area we can work on together. The other one is waste management. At the moment, it is a nightmare, I think, for many governments, both at national and at county level. And this is an area that we have been thinking, how can we collaborate so that we can manage this waste management, segregation, recycling, and all manner of things, because not every household is capable of managing this. But coming together, resident association and the county government, it is possible to work out a plan, because at the moment, many resident associations are actually paying for the disposal of their waste. But it can be a business that working together with the government, it can become a way of actually generating some income, even for the neighborhoods. The other one is the issue of maintenance of our roads. The government is responsible for making roads, but when they do these roads, they need to bring together the ownership of that infrastructure in an area to the residents, so that it belongs to them. Yes, because many times people tend to think that a road is a government infrastructure, but they don't try to connect it to their use. And therefore, they try to maintain it. And here, maintenance, I was talking about cleaning of, say, for example, drainage, cleaning the road itself, trying to avoid throwing garbage or waste paper or bottles, plastic bottles along the road, so that you become part of the maintenance of this road. And for this to happen, because people will feel, okay, that is still the responsibility of the government, the resident associations can have an incentive given to them in way of probably a waiver of rates, land rates or land rent, to the extent that if you maintain your area in a certain way, then you can get a 10%, 20% waiver on this. In any case, that is a saving that the government will have, because in terms of maintenance of these roads will be minimized if we keep them neat and clean, and try to clean the drainages, and also make sure that there is no waste that is dumped onto the roads by the residents themselves. So that is an area of collaboration that can be there. The other one that I think is also important is in the area of growth, in terms of business, in terms of opportunities that are given or are found within the urban areas, because urban areas are actually a center of economy. They are areas of economy. So it is possible for the county government to work with resident associations in identifying what business can be better done there. What is what is that one product that can be produced in a certain neighborhood that becomes an economy in their respective areas. I give you, for example, in my area that I live, there are very many professionals, there are very many teachers. Maybe this could be a hub, a center of innovations, of coming up with proposals of what the government can do. We have a neighborhood that can like I said, that is agricultural based. So they can work together to improve on the agriculture, on food security. Then we have other areas like the youth, job creation and stuff like this. So these residents associations can be a center of development. They can be a center of an economy of certain nature. In fact, even urban areas, there are some residential areas that can be a center of urban agriculture, whereby people become self-sufficient in food within their area because they can be helped to grow and also market or work together in this area. So those are, I hope I've mentioned a good number of areas of collaboration, but they are actually limitless. In fact, if you look at what the government wants to do, most of it can be done in collaboration with the people they want to provide these services for. So even like now we have issues of housing. Housing is a challenge. This is but majority of the houses that are there is done by the residents, by the owners of these houses. So even those who are not able to afford, if they are brought together, they can be able to work together with the government and put up houses, decent houses within their areas. In a small way, in a communal way, they can be able to do this because if they are engaged, they are given ownership of this. They can contribute, for example, labor in terms of building decent houses within their areas. So those are areas of collaboration. I think how is probably probably to me, it may look like it is very difficult, but looking at it critically, it is an area that if we recognize, you see, one of the challenges of governments is probably what you call, they don't want information reaching people as it should. And this way is probably the reason why they don't want to be very open with the residents in terms of how they spend the money that we give them as taxes. And possibly this is the reason why that area of collaboration becomes. But the how is put the things on the table, recognize the contribution made by residents, by citizens, so to speak. Participation is not supposed to be a favor, it is a guarantee. So if you do it openly, then you will achieve heavily. And like I was saying earlier on, when you look at even countries like that have made a lot of progress, it's by engaging people. In Rwanda, they engage people in terms of cleaning their city. And this way, then nobody will throw waste anywhere because you are responsible for cleaning it. So if you are responsible for cleaning it, you cannot dirtify an area that you are responsible for cleaning. So if it is infrastructure, the road, the infrastructure, if it is security, where are these security? How can they work together with the guards that we hire so that they is seamless in terms of relationship? But today it doesn't happen. So I think to me it is to recognize that everything the government does is done for the citizens, for the people. Residents associations become a very good point to work together because they are already organized. You can identify. You don't even need to call for a meeting. You just ask them what is their input. So, and they become part of the things, the delivery of services that we're talking about. And like I said earlier on, that recognition. which is formal. It's illegal, because in any case there are some acts, like I said, which if implemented, give that legal basis of ownership or relationship, that we become partners in terms of delivery of services. So to me, I think this is clear in my mind that it can be done. It has been done, and particularly, I think the issue of county hall meetings, if they are done with the intention of actually listening to the people, is another way of how to engage and collaborate in those areas that I have mentioned.